Today, we're going to start our session with a conversation with Danny Cohen, who's been here before, general partner at Viola Ventures. We've had at least, I think, 1 or 2 conversations already. This conversation today is going to be focused on AI, which is dominating the popular consciousness in terms of technology. But when we think about it from startups perspective, from investment perspective, from venture capital perspective, the point of view is different. So we are trying to understand what are the possibilities, what are people investing in, what do people want to invest in, and so on. So Danny, welcome. It's great to have you back. Let's start with some general kind of overview of how you're thinking about AI.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, it's great to be here again. And I remember when you started in 2008, and you haven't changed a bit. And yeah, I mean, so great. I think AI is the point of topic for everyone at this point. I mean, everything and everyone is AI, and what is not AI is not interesting, right? So I think every single pitch that we hear has some sort of an AI component to it.
Yeah.
I think AI is the good news. It's going to revolutionize a lot of things, both on the business application, on consumer application, on infrastructure, almost everything. That's the good news. So it's a huge opportunity for disruption, and that's always a great way to create innovations and make money. I think the challenge is who are going to be the winners, what is going to win, where to invest, how to do that. I think that's one of the toughest I've seen in the past recent years, for sure.
Now, how do you segment the types of opportunities, and which ones of those are you focusing on from your fund?
Yeah, sure. So I think at this point, the big winners so far have been the technology players, right? Technology infrastructure, the foundation models, tons of dollars thrown into those. Some huge companies were built in a very, very short time, and those that got those foundation models early on have already made a lot of money, or at least a lot of money on paper. I think for us, our fund, to say, is a $250 million fund based out of Israel. And on one hand, we look for innovation and technology innovation. So we look things with a technological edge. But I think it's very hard for us at this point to play on the infrastructure side. And based on that, what we're spending all of our time is to think about how AI is going to change the application layer, how the huge infrastructure that is being built by the big tech companies, how that can be leveraged into creating new applications. And then basically the question of what will change in how we work and live in the world of AI.
Yes. So the way I'm thinking about it is these huge infrastructure, huge platforms, the large language models that are getting the billions of dollars of funding are going to be kind of a platform layer on which we're going to look at as platform as a service, essentially, and build on top of that. We've seen the platform as a service model already for at least a couple of decades, if not more. So we understand the platform as a service layer on how to work with it. And I think these very heavily funded, very large infrastructure layer is going to operate in that mode, the PaaS mode. So when you look at the application layer, what I'm hearing from most people is the dominance of vertical AI as the area of interest in terms of startups and investment. Is that where you are looking as well?
Yeah. First of all, the answer is absolutely, totally. This is our key focus area. I think the big question to ask and try to answer is, it's a big name for a lot of different applications and a lot of different verticals by definition. And I think there's some verticals that will be easier to penetrate and some will be way harder. And verticals are so different from one another. And in some odd way, I think the huge verticals are the most complicated ones and probably the ones where the prizes will become much later in the game. So Yeah, we're looking at where is disruption going to happen, and what are those some of the applications. We already funded some applications, but it's you need to look at it and analyze it from each vertical on its own.
So which ones do you categorize as the ones that are going to be the harder to deal with?
I think um, the big question, or the way we see it, is there are areas in the world that technology has disrupted and yet not disrupted at all, right? Healthcare, on one hand, of course, our life changed completely, but then there's some things that are exactly the same, right? Uh, and in some other tough areas, look at construction or look at you know airlines or travel, not the like the flight itself. So many changes, yet the flight from London to New York is exactly the same of what it was 50 years ago. Literally exactly the same. Probably business class is a little bit nicer, but it's basically exactly the same, right? So the big question is, what kind of areas or verticals, aerospace, travel, healthcare, are going to be? Can you really change fundamentally some of the physics of those operations, and can AI make a huge difference? And I think the way to figure that out is just going to take a long time, and the changes will just take 10, 15 years to come. Versus, by the way, media creation, which we're here today.
Yeah. So the healthcare is obviously the biggest prize for AI. It is the biggest potential. It's the most, in my opinion, it's the most important vertical where AI can have an enormous positive impact. But it is also one where hallucination cannot be tolerated. Hallucination can be tolerated in media creation. It cannot be tolerated in healthcare.
So, first of all, of course, you're right. I will say that right now our AI expectations are way above what AI can deliver. And although you're right, meaning we're willing to suffer hallucinations in some areas because the damage is not there, I think from a user perspective, our expectation is that AI can do at this level, and AI is not. There's a gap there in what it can do. Specifically on healthcare, I think there are things that we will see very soon, especially on research side, and some things that are not. That are kind of more in the backside of it. But I think from diagnosis, or we're interacting with people, I think that's going to take a lot of time before we can talk to an AI doctor.
But on that, though, if the gating item is hallucination, there are several gating items in healthcare. I'm not saying that there are, I will get to the multiple gating items, but if one of the gating items is hallucination, that can be controlled with small language models. You don't have to use these unwieldy large language models and that lose on healthcare. Instead, if you control the language models, you can control hallucination.
Yeah, but you get the same quality out of it. Quality of expectation. I mean, again, going to the expectation of if it's a user, or do you get the same value out of it of what people want?
Well,
Right?
I think there are other gating items there that may not get us to where we want to get to, which is the entrenched, systems that need to be upgraded somehow. They're not necessarily, these are old architecture systems. And in America, for instance, Epic dominates. And that product was developed a long time ago on a very, very old architecture. And so for that to catch up to where we are right now in terms of AI potential and all that, that is definitely a gating item. But if we come to the ones that are lower hanging fruits, so this is where I think it would be interesting for us to hear what you have invested in, where you don't think the prize is so far out, we can start seeing real value, real impact now. What are some of the companies that you've invested in and why?
Yeah, sure. So I can give two or three companies that I really like and are very relevant. One early stage company actually announced just today called Panjaya, that does high quality dubbing for videos, right? Where basically you can take this video and suddenly we are all speaking fluent French in our same voice with unbelievable lip sync, right? And that is done in a perfect way that not only gives the exact meaning of the words, but also does the same emotional meaning. When I say, "This is amazing," it will capture that in French exactly the same way it was captured in English. AI does a phenomenal job in that. And we already, again, see the prizes. I will
So you
say,
can change the lip movement as well, the lip sync as well.
yeah, the lip sync. So it's the
That's
same
amazing.
voice,
That is fabulous.
lip moves, and suddenly you see it. You see a video of me like talk fluent Spanish. I don't know one single word, and it looks just like $1 million. But I will say that the expectations of users is very high. Meaning, even if there's one small miss, people like, this is not as good as we thought, right? So they think AI can do it at 100%, and probably we're more at 98, 95, 96 at this
But
point.
that's very far along, though.
Yeah, it's very fun. And
It's
by the way,
very
the
far.
value is great, right? Because there's an example of a technology company in Silicon Valley. They use it for a CEO presentation to the entire global company. He speaks in all the languages of all his offices. It's authentic. It looks real. People finally understand exactly what he's saying. And although English is dominant for everybody in the industry, it's amazing how people still prefer it, or not amazing, to hear it in their own mother tongue.
And where is this company going to market? Is it in the corporate use cases? Where is it? What is the strategy?
Uh, so the strategy for them, I mean, they're launching on 3 verticals. So corporate is one of them, but actually it's media,
Media.
so they're working with TED, for example,
Mhm.
and the other one is education, right?
Okay, very
Which
cool.
I think education is a great vertical, right? Because again, I think the user really wants to get the essence of what is being said, and getting it in your own language is just reduces another barrier in the education process.
Well, and companies like Netflix and Amazon must be salivating at something like this, no?
Yeah, but I think for them, uh, it's it's right, but I think it's different. They have a different budget, different expectations. They're willing to have a much longer development cycle on what they're willing to do with dubbing, as opposed to a shorter video where your budget is lower, yet your quality expectations are still very high. But that's just one example. I want to say just one more. Can I take another example?
Of course, you can take one, two, three examples.
Yeah, so another one that we're investors in is a company called Taranis, which does a very simple thing, so very use of AI in the agriculture front, right, where they capture satellite videos and videos across kind of the entire from satellites to airplanes to drones to everything, and they use all that, and they put all the information that is captured from all the imaging and bring that together and analyze, and can find basically certain problems or issues or data information about the field of agriculture, just based on this whole set of images, and AI does the whole thing, right? So it's a great way for AI to replace experts in agriculture as they try to understand better what's happening
And what
across,
can
of
they
course,
find
huge
from
fields.
these images? What kinds of some examples of the kinds of actionable items they can find from this?
Yeah, so parts of it is I think it's around what's the word in English? Sorry, disease. I don't think it's disease. It's like
Disease.
uh,
Sure.
yeah, in plants, and kind of find early problems in these fields. It's also about different results, how different areas of the field react to certain weather and so on. And I think they're also looking at even energy usage and energy consumption and some other applications as well.
Interesting. Okay. You can actually, if you have more, you can do more. I'm very interested in seeing what is actually find traction in the customer base.
Sure. I mean, again, another one that I'm on the board of a company called Lightrix that is doing a lot of work in, again, in video, text to video side. Of course, text to video is very known because OpenAI released Sora, right? But what we want to think about is AI is how can AI create not only a short clip, but a full 5, 10 minute video, right? And I think the big challenge there, or the big, is how do you create fast, so get fast results from AI. So when you text and say, I want this story, how the result comes back not in an hour, but in seconds. And the second thing is that the quality of a 20-minute video and what you can do with it is at the same level of what would be a, almost a video shooting. Now, of course, on one hand, AI is not 100% there, so you can't create a 20-minute real like video, but we can create some commercials that have real characters and characters that change and a real story even in them. And this is I think the whole future of video creation, definitely at the low end side of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And the internet is full of video, right? The engagement you get on video is so much higher than anything else. So 90-second, 30-second videos you can create like this, and it is enormously valuable. So I have a question this is a relatively new development, and you probably haven't invested in anything like this yet, but are you starting to see this in your deal flow? This is apropos the announcement that we just saw from Anthropic about agents. They are opening up their platform, the agent platform, where you can go in and start creating agents. And of course, Sam Altman made this comment that AI's holy grail is this all-knowing colleague who's going to be attached to you and know everything about your life and be assisting you in everything that you do. I don't believe in this, because I don't want to give all my data about all my life to some company like OpenAI or Anthropic. However, the architecture of agents being able to run software on their own and make these autonomous decisions gives us enormous potential to do next level of automation in enterprise applications and business applications and so on. So are you seeing this in your deal flow yet?
Yeah, first of all, of course, I think that holy grail, I'm not sure about a colleague that knows it all. Sounds kind of annoying to me also. Just this colleague already sounds annoying. Yeah, but I think, look, agents by definition are a great target for replacement and can do certain things. We still have, let's look at our day-to-day life, insurance agent, travel agents, all these can be replaced, I think, by AI in a way that do it in the best way possible. I actually, agents can do a lot of things, not only in the sense of what they know, but also who they replace, right? And of course, you talk about the colleague that I have that knows it all. What about the AI representation of myself, right? And a year from now will be, or 2 or 5 years from now, you're not interviewing me because I'm busy. You'll interview the AI version of me, right? And will the AI version of me say exactly what I'm saying right now? Now, on one hand, we laugh about it, but I think the reality is that there are a lot of interesting applications and people talk about that, right? Where President.
Well, what comes to my mind is the dating application. I think it's the CEO of Bumble who
she said that exactly.
You want your agent to interact with another, somebody who's matching with you and interview each other and then decide whether this is a match or not. Well, why not, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, of course, I don't know, for someone my age, that sounds odd, although it's interesting.
Extremely.
But I mean, it's a great question where you can say, look, maybe I want to ask President Biden, a whole bunch of questions that are really important for me, and I can't get an answer. And maybe the AI version of President Biden can actually answer some of these questions. Okay, and it's not that complicated, and it's actually quite interesting, right?
Well, I think if you bring it down, I think the capabilities are very interesting, extremely interesting. If you bring it down to areas where we can actually really apply things like that, where there will be immediate value and we can build a business around that. I think interviewing candidates, if you want to interview instead of 10 candidates, if you want to interview 1,000 candidates and filter that down to the 10 that are a good fit, that is a great application of this kind of technology, the kind of, human representation technology that you're talking about. The other side of the coin is where the AI can run software and create additional levels of automation. It comes back to the same vertical AI kind of thought process, right? In vertical workflows, in vertical applications, having agent technology available to do additional levels of automation is immensely valuable.
Yeah, I think, the interesting things for a lot of people like us is I think the future is about um, every team and companies we know will include, real people and not real people, right? And teams will have virtual team members and real team members, and they're just going to be part of the work process. I think still there are a lot of things that need to be figured out. And I think, again, the expectations from anything that is AI is much, much higher than anything that is not AI. So I think in some odd way, you're willing to forgive me about certain things I'm doing, even on this call right now, where, of course, this was an AI, you would be much more strict about how things are said or how things are being expressed and so on. But this is the future.
It is the future, most certainly. Now, is there a company that you can fantasize about that you would like to invest in? And now I'm switching to ideas that you haven't yet seen implemented or haven't yet crossed your deal flow path. What would you like to invest in AI?
Well, I think that's a great question. I I think there are a lot of companies in these categories, but I'm of course fascinated, like many people, about the social impact of AI and the whole thing about virtual friends and virtual companions and all that part. I think for me is fascinating, and and I think how that future will lay out and how people will socialize with virtual friends, like that movie, right? That we all talk about. I think still for me is the one
Yes,
area which I would love to see how
bloody
this will play
scary
out.
idea.
Yeah, I know, but it's scary and not scary, right? Um, it's scary. Maybe for us it's scary, but maybe in 50 years it's just going to be
Well,
just simple reality.
it depends. It depends on how you play it. I think if you expand your line of thought, I think there is a very interesting use case there that is not scary, not damaging. It's in the domain of mental health, right? Loneliness has been a tremendous mental health problem uh, around the world. And if you can mitigate that with meaningful companionship that can add, you know, valuable input into the emotional process, that could be a very interesting application of that kind of AI.
Yeah, I totally agree. And my wife is a psychologist, and she always said, well, on one hand, people need human touch. They need to sit in a room and talk to real people, and I think that's true, and that will never go away. By the way, never. But for a lot of people, that the solution of a virtual therapist maybe is not the best solution, but it's a great solution, and I think we'll see much more of that in the market.
I think it could be a fabulous solution, actually. Virtual therapist could be a fabulous solution. If it's well designed, it could be a fabulous solution. The part that is very worrisome, have you read Yuval Noah Harari's most recent book, Nexus?
Um, uh, I have not yet. I should.
You should. He talks about some things that are, I'll give you one example from his book, which I happen to agree with. I happen to agree with a lot of what he's saying. So it was really very high resonance book for me. He's talking about how religion, for example, is a very big influencer in society, right? Religion drives a lot of action, a lot of group behavior, et cetera, a lot of the narratives. Now, if you given AI has this kind of power of creating real intimacy at a highly personalized level, if religion if new religions are created by AI and then propagated with this highly personalized intimacy with large masses of people, it's an enormously powerful use case of AI. And that can be good. It can also be absolutely devastating.
Yeah, it can be devastating. Now I need to think a lot about it. I'm going to read the book.
You will have to think about it. This is a big topic, actually. But I do recommend the book to all of you. If you haven't read Harari's Nexus, it is a very interesting book, and it really goes into where the pitfalls of AI could come up, and it is something that we all need to understand because of where we're going. Well, fantastic conversation, Danny. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to discuss?
No, I think this is good. Now I come out with things to think about, or book to read, and I'm very excited about what the future lies ahead. And by the way, I want to say I'm optimistic. I still think that overall,
Me too. I'm optimistic
we
as
are
well.
scared of technology, but at the end, I think humanity has done well with a lot of technologies, and I think this will be the case as well.
The one I'm most optimistic about is actually healthcare. I think in healthcare, if we can manage the AI applications well, it can completely change the game. Everybody, 10 billion people can access healthcare, high quality healthcare, robotic surgery, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this is for humanity. This could be an enormous way forward.
I want to say, Sharwana, now I want you to invite me again to number, 850, and we'll see what has changed in AI and what stayed the same, so we can reflect on this conversation.
We will. Everybody who's been here on this series. We started doing the series, I think, August, September. So we've done, no, actually earlier. We've done a lot of these discussions, but everybody needs to come back every, 4 to 6 months. Everybody needs to come back because so much is changing so quickly. We need to exchange notes in due course. Well, thank you for coming, Danny. We'll be in touch, and we will definitely have you over again.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.
Folks, we're going to switch to the entrepreneur pitches and the mentoring session. I know Danny has to hop off. Please, for all of you who are pitching today or in an upcoming session, please know that